New details tonight on the timeline of the shooting at Evergreen High School as students and parents share their perspectives for the first time.
Kids should wake up every day and not fear for safety for going into their schools.
Pueblo County picks a new coroner to replace the guy who knew where the bodies weren't buried because they were stuffed in his back room. 3 years after voters in Denver expanded recycling, it's finally happening. And we tracked down the guy engaged in the most Colorado of activities, handing out treats to people who made it to the top of a 14er.
I'm the ice cream man. That's the only name I have.
The good, the bad, and the weird. In other words, life. Tonight on Next. It was over in 9 minutes. In that time, an Evergreen High School student shot 2 of his classmates, then killed himself. 20 rounds in 9 minutes. New info and perspective from the Jeffco Sheriff's Office today suggests that teachers and students acted quickly and saved lives with their actions. The Sheriff's Office says its preliminary investigation found the shooter at Evergreen High was firing off rounds over the span of those 9 minutes, first injuring a student inside the school, then heading outside to the far northeast side of campus where he shot a second student. The shooter was armed with a revolver and reloaded several times before eventually killing himself. Tonight, investigators said the school lockdown procedures, quote, helped prevent an even greater tragedy. Tonight, we are hearing from the 2 student body presidents at Evergreen High School as they share their experiences for the first time, alongside parents who rushed to the school last Wednesday. They offered up their thoughts with our Mark Salinger and photojournalist Foster Gaines.
Tell me what this week has been like for you in Evergreen.
Yeah, it is the hardest week of a lot of our lives.
You just don't know how to feel about it because it just feels so unreal and terrible.
Surreal in a really horrible, nightmarish way.
I tell them I love them and they tell me they love me every day whenever they're off to school because I always have that fear. And I hate that they have to have that fear. Not just Evergreen High School, but every school in the U.S.
My sister called me first. She was in tears, said, Tyler, there's a shooter at the high school.
I was driving back to the school and I was about a minute away. Your brain is like, there's no way that's what's happening right now.
Every group text I'm on, every person I've ever met at that school is reaching out.
My middle schooler had heard that there was a shooting and was emailing his brother, "Are you okay, Alexander? I love you." He was emailing us, "My brother's in there. Is my brother okay?" He had never heard gunshots before in his life until he heard them in his school.
It's sorry. It's really scary, honestly.
Since I've been able to remember, so probably 1st or 2nd grade, I've had a plan, an escape plan at every classroom I've been at for the past 12 years.
And you're preparing for this since you were in kindergarten, which you shouldn't have to be doing. And it's, you know, it's a possibility.
Kids should wake up every day and not fear for safety for going into their schools. We are students. A lot of the ones impacted the most were 14 or 15 years old on Wednesday.
And that's just terrible. That's nothing that teenagers should have to go through. This isn't something that we're supposed to process. This isn't something that we're supposed to like go through or know how to do.
If there's one thing I could say to students, it's that there are people here for you, and we are doing everything we can to make sure students will be okay.
We're just doing everything we can to make the kids feel safe and feel loved and just feel some sort of sense of normalcy, but I don't know if that's even possible.
But right now, there are students hurting, there are staff hurting, and the only way to get to a place where we all feel safe and secure and emotionally stable is through love. So.
Takes a lot of bravery to get in front of that camera and speak about an event like that to the media. Thank you for trusting us to share those stories. After those interviews, the students and parents went back to doing what they've been doing for the last several days, delivering meals to the victims, organizing events for students to come together, and making sure that everyone has someone to talk to about what happened, Kyle.
You know, Mark, you hear them talk about how ever since they were little kids, they have thought about this and planned for this. And in my mind, I've always thought about that as a burden that we're placing on young people, right? Mm-hmm. It is both a burden and, based on what sheriff's investigators are telling us, That saved lives, that so many people were so prepared in that moment to spring into action.
Unfortunately, needing to put all of those years of preparation. I mean, you hear Tyler talk about that for the last 12 years, he's walked into a classroom and said, okay, if the worst thing were to happen, where do I go? And that's what all those lockdown drills prepare everybody to do. You just hope you never need them. This past week in Evergreen, they needed it.
Yeah, well, among other things, Evergreen is fortunate to have student leaders.
Exactly.
Like those,
Very
right?
much so.
Yep, Mark Salinger,
so.
Thank you. A shooting last month at Denver's North High School did not hurt anyone, but it's causing the district to again face questions about its safety plans for students and what happens when a student who is being monitored as a possible danger leaves that particular school. The shooting happened August 30th during a football fundraiser at North. Police say there was a fight in the parking lot and that Anthony Mendoza Gonzalez fired a gun before running away. Court documents show several people immediately questioned why that young man was on campus. Witnesses, including a staff member, told investigators that he was dangerous. They said he was under a safety plan when he was a student at North. Those plans allow students to be searched for weapons when they come to school. When we asked Denver Public Schools about the former student, they would not talk specifics. They did say that if a student is not expelled, then they are allowed to return to school property. They would not say if there's a policy that prohibits prior students with safety plans from returning to campus property. Pueblo County has a new coroner. It's a pretty low bar to do a better job than the last guy, so long as the new guy doesn't stash bodies in a back room for years. Dr. Gregory Grayheck was picked by county commissioners this morning. Grayheck's a nurse practitioner who works in a private practice in Pueblo. He'll serve as the county coroner for the next 15 months, finishing out the term of Republican coroner Brian Cotter, who resigned in disgrace after an inspection uncovered dozens of decaying bodies inside his funeral home. Cotter has not yet been charged with a crime. Grayheck was selected from a pool of 5 candidates. The commissioner struggled with whether they go with another candidate with experience in the funeral industry. A lot of good that did him last time. They decided instead to go with Grayheck, who does not have direct experience with death investigations.
A coroner who owns, operates, is employed by, or who has any interest in a funeral home establishment is deemed to have a conflict of interest. As we have seen with Davis Mortuary, this kind of conflict has dire impacts when things go wrong.
You do not blame an entire industry or group of people for the actions of one bad individual or mistakes that were made.
Colorado Bureau of Investigation says their work at Davis Mortuary could take months. As of last week, only 4 of the 24 bodies found in that funeral home have been identified. The coroners from Fremont County and El Paso County have been helping out with that process. President Trump is trying to exert influence over and discredit elections which are run by the states. He punished Colorado by removing Space Command from this state, said a big factor in the decision was Colorado's mail-in ballots. And the Department of Justice is putting together a massive amount of voter data in its hunt for non-citizen voters. The New York Times first reported on the Justice Department's request for more than 30 states to turn over private voter information. In some states, that request includes the last 4 digits of each voter's social security number. The Times reports the Justice Department plans to compare that data with a Homeland Security database to try and clear out dead or non-citizen voters. Election experts and state audits have repeatedly found that election fraud by non-citizens is extremely rare. And those experts say that mass voter roll purges often just kick out eligible voters due to simple errors like typos.
When you take large groups of voter data and match it with a DMV database or with the SAVE database or with the Social Security database or with the death records database, there's always mismatches. Any typos will show up as mismatches. Anybody who may have changed their address, moved, will show up as being non-citizens or getting caught up in this. And it will feed the narrative that this is a big problem when in fact it's not.
So far, most states have refused to comply with the Trump administration's data sharing request, and a federal judge has blocked some of the requests. Colorado's Secretary of State's office says they have only been asked to turn over publicly available election data at this point, not private information on individual voters. The city of Denver is counting expenses left and right these days, but they just got hit with a big bill, $1 million, to settle another lawsuit over the police response to the social justice protests of 2020. The $1 million payout will be split between several protesters who say Denver police used excessive force and aggressive crowd control policies. Some of the plaintiffs said that they were injured when the police deployed what are called less lethal rounds and tear gas. Denver's already paid out more than $14 million in settlement claims tied to the 2020 protests, and there's another $14 million payout still being held up in court. There's a separate but related legal battle between Denver and the city of Aurora over which city should be paying for these settlements. Aurora police officers assisted with the police response in Denver in 2020, but they've said that they were just following DPD's lead and therefore shouldn't be financially liable for the settlements. Well, finally, let's put those purple bins in Denver to good use. Denver City Council finally greenlights the recycling plan that voters approved years ago.
I like doing stupid stuff in the mountains. I like ice cream. Seemed like a good way to combine it and make people smile.
You want to sit back and enjoy something on the news that isn't terrible for once? We'll meet the mystery man who has been doling out ice cream atop Colorado's 14ers. His story went viral. That's next. Almost 3 years after Denver's voters approved expanding recycling and compost requirements for restaurants and apartment buildings, City Council is finally going to put it into action. Voters approved this in 2022, but it was delayed multiple times as the city went back and forth on how to implement it. The plan requires apartments, restaurants, commercial buildings, and permitted events to pay for recycling and compost. Exemptions will be allowed for businesses facing hard economic times. 2 people on council voted against this. They said it wasn't fair to small business.
I think that the amount of costs that this is going to add to our businesses, to our registered neighborhood organizations that are hosting events, all of those different kinds of things are don't make any sense.
The whole idea on this is like, why are they riding, individual households when you've got much bigger operations that are not recycling and composting? The measure requires construction and demolition projects to also recycle stuff like concrete, asphalt, and scrap metal. Enforcement begins September of next year. Businesses and contractors who don't comply could face fines. Crispy Donkey's along now, and stormy afternoon and early evening on the Eastern Plains.
Now we got some large hail, Kyle. Pretty unusual that in the middle of September, we're talking about this, some large hail, some damaging winds on the Eastern Plains, but that is what we're looking at. This, the ominous view from Ray. Good news is this storm moving out, but we still got some storms later on this evening. Washington, Logan, Sedgwick, Phillips, and as well as Logan counties. Those are going to be the ones under that severe thunderstorm watch. That's where we're seeing those nasty storms right now. Moving out over the Eastern Plains, severe thunderstorm warning. Remember, warning taking place now. Watch means conditions favorable. The potential for that, and a severe thunderstorm warning for southern Washington County for the next half hour. That is going to be for large hail for us just to the south of Akron near Antero. In the meantime, you get up into the mountains, we're seeing some showers and some snow for us at or above about 12,000 feet in elevation. We'll see that snow drop on down to about 11,000 feet as we head over the next few hours. Rocky Mountain National Park up by Longs Peak. You're going to see some snow for us up that way. And then Fort Collins, perhaps a few more showers and storms. You had a pretty good storm earlier on in Fort Collins earlier on this afternoon. Tomorrow, temperatures drop back to about 70 for us for a high temperature, so notably cooler. Bit of a taste of fall for tomorrow. Some afternoon showers once again. Lower odds for a storm tomorrow compared to today. The story tomorrow, bit of a taste of fall for us, no doubt about it, with temperatures about 10 degrees below average. 7-day forecast, temps get back up into the low to mid 80s for us next weekend and next week, just in time to officially ring in the start of fall next Monday.
It was the most Colorado thing we'd seen in a long time. This costume dude handing out treats atop Colorado's 14ers. Story went all over the place, but we still had questions. Questions that only 9 News Investigates could answer. And when America remembered Robert Redford's accomplishments today, we noticed they left out his stint as a janitor in Boulder. We'll remember his deep Colorado connections next. It was clearly the most Colorado thing we had seen lately, and so many saw it when the story went viral. A guy atop a 14er in Colorado handing out ice cream to hikers. But who was this mystery man? Let's take a break from some of the heavy news lately for 9 News Investigates Chris Vanderveen to chase the ice cream man.
Hi hot on the trail of another investigation.
You guys like ice cream?
We found a man who seems unfazed.
I don't mean to interrupt, but do you like ice cream? All right, have a good run.
Unfazed by the occasional cold shoulder.
Oh, but do you want some ice cream?
Bro, I'm good, thanks.
Have a good one.
His name, not important, not now. His shtick, walk tall and carry a big...
You like ice cream?
...box of ice cream.
You do? Well, it's your lucky day.
Thanks.
If you feel like you've seen this face before, perhaps you have. It did, after all, go sort of viral when he did the same thing on top of one of Colorado's 58 14ers last month. Legendary. Not all heroes wear capes. Absolute legend, bro. Was hoping to figure out who he is.
Are you rolling? Yeah. Are you,
I'm good to go.
If we agreed to not use his name, he agreed to sit down with us to give us, for lack of a better term,
dare I ask what your name is?
the scoop.
I'm the ice cream man.
What are you doing?
I'm just having fun. I like doing stupid stuff in the mountains. I like ice cream. Seemed like a good way to combine it and make people smile.
Why ice cream?
See, I'd say everyone likes ice cream, but not everybody does. I don't want to be exclusionary.
Who doesn't like ice cream?
Lactose intolerant people, vegans, you know, no judgment. Everybody's got their thing. Maybe next time I'll bring some popsicles as an alternative.
Is there going to be a next time?
Oh, there'll be a next time. I had a good time. I do hibernate for the winter. I retract into my cone like a turtle, but I'll be back next summer somewhere in the mountains with some more ice cream.
Colorado's angel, you might say.
I had a fun day in the mountains.
Of the Rocky Road.
And I hope other people did too.
Chris Vanderveen, 9 News.
The ice cream man tells us he wants to hit all of the state's 14ers. He estimates he's done about half of them so far. America lost a legend in the film industry today. Robert Redford, the actor and Oscar-winning filmmaker, has died at the age of 89. He had deep ties to Colorado. He was a student at CU Boulder for a year and a half. Here he is posing with his Kappa Sigma frat brothers. He worked as a janitor at the Sink restaurant, where they are honoring him this week with his favorite cocktail, the 7 and 7. He also founded the Sundance Film Festival, which is coming to Boulder for the first time in 2027. He named it after his Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid character, with the mission of, quote, fostering new voices in American storytelling. Redford was politically active throughout his life, especially regarding the environment and civil rights causes. Robert Redford is survived by his wife and 3 children. Marilyn knows that 2 things that I know virtually nothing about are mixed drinks and movies. I had to look up 7 and 7, or rather our producer Mallory looked it up.
Seagram
7 and 7-Up.
Yep, that's exactly right.
We're learning here together. We're on a voyage of discovery. Back with your feedback next. Feedback from Jan, who says, your crispy donkey reference made my night. Thanks for giving me a smile. Jan says, I totally remember when that came through on the screen. The night that somebody mentioned Chris Bianchi in closed captioning, labeled him Crispy Donkey. Now I just call him Crispy Donkey, hoping closed captioning will super him as Chris Bianchi. I tried tonight and it didn't work. No, they wrote Crispy Donkeys, plural. There is just one. Finally tonight, via text, come to conclusion that Kyle Clark don't know how to pick his clothes. You've just come to this conclusion.